So in this section, we are talking about self-altars, something that we don't often hear in the community and people aren't really thinking about, but your altar is a part of you. It is a reflection, and that's any type of altar. But when we think about it in the way of a self-altar, it creates a different kind of working space. So I have two, and I'm going to show you both, and I'm going to go through and talk about each one. The one that you're seeing on your screen right now is my main altar. And this is where I primarily do all of my work. And with this one, I both have my deities, I have my guides, aspects of them in there, but I'm at the center. And I really think that if we start putting ourselves at the center of our altars, it really centers the focus on us. All the work that you're doing on that altar is centered around you, where your transformations are, what work you are doing, what you are needing to bring in, what you are needing to change. By putting yourself at the center, it's also a visual to trigger the mind that you are the center of the work. You are the center of your practice. Because in the end, you are. Everything that you are doing, whether it's from a spiritual aspect or from a physical aspect, depending on what kind of magic you're doing, depending on what kind of work you're doing, it is all about your transformations, your movement, your work, your needs. From an internal, so self, and external, your community, your world, whatever you're working within, your relationships, your bonds, that type of thing. I know that kind of concept can be a little jarring for some people, especially if you have a working altar that is primarily like deities. I often see this, that, they put the deities at the center, and because it is centered around them, but it's, in my opinion, it's not. It's centered around you. My deities are guides. They are here to help give me lessons, teach me things, show me things, guide me through my own transformations, my own path, what I am building, where I'm living. All of these, soul and body aspects. They don't want bow down worship. That's a very Christian idea. It is not their idea. The whole reason that they have interest in you is for your own personal growth, for you to move forward, for you to expand, for you to make discoveries about yourself, about the world, connecting, building bonds. And like I said, this is my experience. This is the reason why my deities have any interest in me whatsoever, and why they take the time and the effort to mess with one tiny little specky human. It's for that reason. It's because what they are getting is, I feed them energy, they feed me lessons. I follow the path and grow, and that feeds them. It is an exchange and a partnership. It is not a bow down and worship. It is not servitude to them. I have different parts of my exchange. So sharing, talking about them, talking about the practices, talking about what I'm doing, talking about how I got here. All of these aspects are part of the exchange. It's something that I do. By doing this publicly, it's part of that exchange with them. They helped me to get here. They gave me these lessons and these understandings and shown me this knowledge and tools and how to create and move within all of it. And my job is to share that with other people so they can have the opportunity to hear it inspire them on their own, give them ideas, give them frameworks, places to start, that kind of stuff. So that's part of my exchange, but it's an exchange. So on this particular altar, I am at the center because I am at the center of all this work. This is my life that I am living and moving through. So everything is centered around me in that way. The Mother of Souls sits to my left as I am facing the altar. So she is on the left-hand side of the altar. The reason she is at the left-hand side is because I don't see right hand, left hand the way that it's commonly talked about in our community. Left hand is what I'm bringing in. It is the soul aspect of me. It is my inner soul, my self, my person. Thus, with my left hand, I'm bringing in. And the Mother of Souls, that is her thing. She is death itself. She is death and rebirth. It is transformation. It is movement. It is the unending. Her biggest concern is your soul. How is your soul connecting? How is your soul growing? How is it moving? It's all soul-based work. And so it's internal, bringing in left-hand side. The Father of Worlds is on the right-hand side. It is my outward movement, my outward actions, my outward world, how I move in the world, what I do in physical space, physical community, physical bonds. So it's outward, what I'm putting out into the world, what I am doing in the world. So it's right hand. And so he sits at the right-hand side. We'll go deeper into the different pieces on this altar. I just kind of wanted to give a brief overview of what my main altar is like. This is where I do a lot of my spell work. It's where I do a lot of my divination work. My trance work is sitting in front of this altar. It is the most used altar that I have. So my second altar, and this is myself as me, so not my working outward community type self, but this is my personal and my family type of altar. So this is my small family, my blood family, my children, my husband, my ancestors, in that way. So at the back, I have this tree, and the tree is the representation of me on this altar. I have a very high affinity with the trees. I see them as a reflection of us. Our core is the trunk. Our roots are the foundations that ground us. It is what has happened to bring us to this point. It is ancestors, but it's also our personal foundations that we build, what we create, what grounds us in our life, in our world. And then your branches are all the possibilities. What could be, what could happen, everything that you're growing in this life, everything that you're moving forward, your dreams, it's possibilities. Over here, we have Orn, which is one of my servitor spirits, and he is mainly for house and family. On this other side, I have another servitor, and we're not talking about him. I have a couple of representations. So this statue and this statue in the corners are very feminine representations, earth, all those kind of nature kind of connections, and then some historical connections and ancestral connections. This little tree in the leaf boat is very much about the abundance of living. So not money, not wealth. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the abundance of living. what is brought in, what are we creating in our lives for our living space. It's that type of bonding. It's that type of abundance. It's the joys. It's the little things. This is my new little resurrection plant. We're not talking about that. Then I have a lot of Irish ancestry, especially on my mother's side. And so I honor that in this way. And she was very Irish Catholic. And so Irish blessings, just an honoring to those ancestors. And then I have my opalite egg. That is one of the first pieces that I got when I started, really creating altars. And it's a representation of me. And then the raven that's next to it, which has different connotations, but it's also kind of that protector kind of spirit. In the center, you will see this little rock that's painted like a dachshund dog. I have a dachshund, and she is very needy and very involved in everything that I do. And she's a very good little protector. Not that she'll do anything, but she'll bark and let you know. So I have her guarding my centerpiece piece, which does include a money altar, but also family. So it's money in abundance to grow my family and their possibilities and experiences. So that is my self altar in the form of my personal self. So just for me, just for my family, just for my roots. On the main altar, I'm going to go through some pieces. So this skull here, I do a lot of spirit work, a lot of death work, soul work. It's really soul work in the end. We say death work, and people tend to not understand that. They think of death because we have a very distorted view of death in the Western culture. But it's soul work. So connecting to souls, connecting to spirits. And this is one of those representations, but it's also one of those connections. It's connections to the dead, connections to the well. Back here is my bowl and knife. If you have not read that article and understand the lessons behind the bowl and knife, I will put it down in the description below so you can read that again, or read that, refresh, because it has some really strong foundational lessons in that. Back there are a set of my ancestors. That is my second through my fifth great grandmother on my mother's side that has been really instrumental in a lot of spell work and some ritual work and understanding how to do certain things like the bridge spell. Right here is another servitor. This one is my servitor for spirit work. So anything soul related, anything unseen related, anything, spirit realm, unseen realm. I have a servitor that does very specific jobs within that. And so he sits on my left-hand side because it's soul, it's spirit, it's unseen. The key that you see down there is actually my pendulum. It's what I use for my pendulum. And again, it's primarily used with the mother, but I've talked with others through it as well. I just really love the idea of the key. It gives this unlocking. Anytime I think about these old keys, it makes me think of unlocking, of discovery, uncovering secrets, that kind of thing. And then there's the Mother of Souls. And this front piece, I have this little boat that's got a little skeleton at one end. It is actually an incense burner, but it is a reminder to me that I am the ferryman. I am a voice for my divine. I am a voice for the divine duality. I'm a voice for my guides. And it reminds me of the responsibilities that come with being that. The wood piece that you see behind you is actually from an old redwood that was on our property. And there used to be so many of them. And we're talking about eastern redwoods, so the juniper tree. There was a lot of devastation in the area as the area grew, and so we lost a lot of those. This is one of those pieces that is an homage to the juniper itself, but also to the land, what's been lost and what can be grown again. This is actually where I put my daily pulls. So I will do a daily pull in the morning. Where should my focus be? Where should I, what conversation needs to be had today? Where should my focus be? What action should I be, focused on? And so I'll put them up in the morning, and they serve as a visual reminder for me throughout the day. Up here at the bottom, I have 2 elephants, one internal, one external. Elephant is one of the 4 guardians of the Crane Temple. They serve a lot of different purposes. This one is a reminder of leadership, how I lead, how I hold my foundations. What does that look like? In the center, I have a pyramid. It reminds me of my triplicity. That, along with the 3 acorns, between the Mother of Souls, the Father of Worlds, and myself, it creates my sacred triplicity. It is the 3 of us together moving and working. Down here, I've got a pentagram aspect, and we'll dive deeper into pentagram as we go. But it connects back to the 4 guardians and the divine triplicity, the Mother of Souls, the Father of Worlds, and yourself. On this side, we have another servitor. This one is for outworld, so the world outside of myself. Action, voice, guardianship, community. These are really his roles. It's very much physical world, not spirit. Then here we've got 4 elements. So you've got the dragon. The water represents the crane. The circle in the back represents the phoenix. And the tree represents the elephant. These are the 4 guardians of the temple. These are the 4 guardians of Crane tradition. And they're not just guardians in the sense of guarding. They are integral parts of magical work that you can bring in. They are helpers in that. They each have their own different roles, their own contributions that they bring into the spell work, that they bring into the ritual work, that they bring into our lives. And they also have their own lessons, their own understandings, their own messages for us and helping us along our way. Very, very interesting, very much, goes way more in depth than that. This is just highlight. So you can kind of see that, the left hand's really my soul section. It's my internal. It's the foundations. And my external side is really about how I move, how I use that, and where I am going with it. What am I doing from an outward actions of it? Again, putting myself at the center reminds me that I am the center. My guides, my deities, my, spirit guides, all of these aspects, the guardians, my servitors, they're all pieces of that work. But this is my life. I'm the one that is living it. I am the one that has to do the work. They can show you, they can teach you, but it is up to you to actually do the work. So yeah, I really highly recommend self-alters. They are a great way to keep you centered in your practice, keep you at the center of your practice. But they're also great places to do self-work. So if you are doing a money spell, do it on your self-altar. If you are doing any type of healing work or movement work, or, trying to increase your voice, increase your talents, increase your psychic developments, whatever it is, use your self-altar. Do that work on your self-altar, really concreting it down. I also see people use self-altar in the way that others would use a vision board. So bring everything in. Put it on there, the things that you want to attract in your life, the things that you want to incorporate in your life, the things that you want to be surrounded with in your life. Surround yourself on your self-altar. As far as effigy for your self-altar, like I said, on my internal, my private self is a tree. That's my effigy. This one here was actually a statue that was made for Hecate. I bought it because it had some elements that I really wanted incorporated in a different working. And so I did a bunch of modifications to it and created it into a different kind of an effigy. And when that was over, I really was still very connected from a self perspective. So again, I did all kinds of alterations to it and reset it as the representation of myself. The white snake on going up the staff and around the left arm, her left arm, not left side, but her left arm, that's soul. It's representation of soul, my inner self. And the black snake is the external, my body, my movement, my actions, how I move in the world. So still bringing that duality in. So I'm constantly aware of both sides and thinking of both sides and how they are blending and working together. So yeah, that is self-alters. Highly, highly recommend you doing a self-altar. So this was a smaller piece of a larger workshop that we just completed within the Crane Practitioner Group. It is a private Discord server that hosts monthly workshops, several different live discussions every month. It is a place for us to come together, to share, to grow, to dive deeper, to experiment together, and support each other along our own paths and as we develop and build our own paths. If you want to learn more, if you want to join, then I'll put the link down below in the description box. I hope this brief part gave you some inspirations and gave you some ideas, making you think about self-alters a little differently, using them in a way to attract, to bring in, to focus the mind of the things that you want to grow in your life, the things that you want to do in your life, how you want to move in your life. They're wonderful. They're absolutely wonderful, and I highly, highly recommend you trying them out.